For 1 million years, humanity rested in silence beneath the cold armor of its own creation. The stasis vaults, titanic, hidden, impossible to destroy, drifted through the interstellar dark like mausoleums of a species that had chosen not extinction, but patience. Encased within, untouched by entropy or time, lay the last children of Earth, billions held in perfect stillness, waiting for an alarm that no living soul remained to hear. The galaxy had long forgotten them. Across epochs, civilizations had risen and fallen like sparks tossed into the abyss. Stars ignited, aged, and died. Technologies burned bright and then vanished into myth. Empires fought, fractured, and dissolved into dust. Yet the vaults remained, unbroken, unmoved by the shifting tides of cosmic history. Their creators had designed them to outlast every war, every collapse, every cosmic storm, and they had succeeded. When the vault heart finally stirred, it did so not because the galaxy was safe, but because it was dying. The awakening sequence began with a tremor that rippled through the innermost layers of reinforced alloy. Systems that had slept longer than any recorded civilization groaned back to life. Power distribution arcs ignited like miniature suns within the core conduits. Monitors flickered with the first pulses of internal telemetry. Gradually, light seeped into chambers that had known only darkness since the moment the last human eyelids had closed. The vault fleets, all 96,000 vessels of the Arcline network, shook off their frost of ages. They aligned their trajectories, recalibrated ancient star maps, and prepared for resurgence. Then, one by one, their hibernation pods disengaged. A wave of awakening swept through the stasis bays, stirring billions of lungs into their first breath in 1 million years. Humanity returned to consciousness not into triumph, but into ruin. The vault's long-range sensors reached outward, gathering data on a galaxy that no longer resembled the one their ancestors had known. Entire star systems were gone, swallowed by gravitational anomalies or torn apart by energies no human civilization had ever mastered. Vast nebulae were scarred with the remnants of impossible wars. Strange radiation signatures drifted on the solar winds like echoes of extinction. What few artificial structures remained in the galactic plane existed only as broken skeletons, shattered relics of species wiped clean from memory. Yet the greatest shock came from the silence. No communications, no beacons, no navigational networks, no active civilizations. By all available measures, humanity had awakened into a galaxy devoid of life. The narration of their return became a chronicle of reorientation, billions of minds adjusting not only to the shock of existence, but to the overwhelming weight of loss, not personal, but cosmic. As the Arcline processors compiled data, the vaults revealed the truth that no human strategist had predicted. The galaxy had not simply decayed through natural processes. It had been broken, deliberately, repeatedly, by forces still unknown. Humanity, reborn, found itself surrounded by the wreckage of a 1 million-year war it had never witnessed. In those first hours of return, a strange mixture of grief and awe filled the collective human consciousness. The ancestors who had built the vaults, brilliant minds fueled by fear, hope, and desperation, had prepared their descendants not for a peaceful galaxy, but for an unforgiving one. They had known that survival would require more than technology. It would demand resolve, adaptability, vision, the will to confront a universe that no longer cared for their existence. As each vault ship activated its internal archives, humans relearned their own forgotten capabilities: the mastery of gravitational engineering, the precision of quantum strategic computation, the techniques of megastructure construction, the disciplined mindset required to rebuild a species from the edge of cosmic oblivion. What startled them most was not how much knowledge had survived, but how much stronger they were for having slept through 1 million years of escalating dangers. Their ancestors had not merely preserved humanity, they had refined it. In the days following reawakening, the Vault fleets deployed their first reconnaissance swarms. Thousands of drones poured into the interstellar void, mapping regions that had been untouched for epochs. Their reports illuminated the scale of devastation: shattered Dyson structures orbiting dimmed stars, planetary surfaces etched with the scars of weapons too vast and too violent to comprehend, wormhole gates torn apart, fused into frozen vortices of warped space. In some regions, entire constellations had been rearranged, as if immense gravitational tools had sculpted star clusters like clay. Yet amid this ruin, humanity discovered something far more troubling: traces of active alterations, recent distortions in spacetime lattices had indicated the presence of forces still operating in the galaxy. Not extinct, not vanished. Hidden. The narration of humanity's awakening grew heavier with this revelation. The descendants of Earth, only moments into their new existence, were no longer simply survivors. They were witnesses on the edge of a conflict they did not understand. But even in the face of these revelations, the human reaction was not paralysis. It was calculation. The million-year slumber had reshaped humanity into something sharper than the civilizations that had birthed the vaults. Their minds adjusted quickly to the demands of this broken galaxy. Their renewed species approached challenges not with fear, but with strategic clarity. The Arcline network became a unified organism, coordinating resource extraction, fleet expansion, and defensive stratification across thousands of light years. Humanity had awakened and immediately began preparing for war, whether or not the enemy still existed. The first priority was establishing an anchor in this dark and fractured cosmos. The vaults selected a derelict region known to their archives as the Perseus Drift, a sector once rich with habitable worlds, now reduced to debris fields orbiting the husks of dying suns. It was there, amid the remnants of forgotten civilizations, that humanity would forge its new genesis. The Arcline vessels descended into the drift like luminous leviathans. Their engines illuminated the swirling dust clouds with a fierce, artificial dawn. Automated construction lattices deployed from their hulls, weaving frameworks for orbital foundries and shield arrays. Within hours, the first human megastructure in 1,000,000 years began to rise, not a city, but a fortress. As the narration delved deeper, the emotional landscape of the newly awakened humans became a defining texture. They were a species resurrected from the ashes of myth, yet they carried a sense of inheritance, a duty to reclaim not merely survival, but significance. Many felt the weight of expectation from ancestors long dead, as if those historical voices whispered through genetic memory, urging them to stand tall in a universe that had forgotten their name. But humanity's resurgence was not simply about rebuilding. It was about understanding the cataclysm. The data harvested from the reconnaissance swarms revealed patterns, fractures across the galaxy that seemed to originate from a single impossible force. These fractures splintered space like cracks in frozen glass. Their shapes were unnatural, suggesting the presence of entities or weapons capable of rewriting physical law itself. The humans realized with growing certainty that whatever had broken the galaxy had done so with intention. And that intention might not have ended. Yet paradoxically, the destruction had left behind opportunities. In the wreckage of extinct species, humanity uncovered technologies that had survived neither through durability nor design, but through accident: broken computational grids, abandoned singularity reactors, quantum spires half buried in collapsed moons. From these ruins, the Arcline engineers pieced together fragments of knowledge far more advanced than anything humanity had wielded before its slumber. They did not covet these relics, they studied them, adapted them, surpassed them. Every discovery strengthened their resolve. Every unknown deepened their curiosity. Humanity advanced with a mindset that fused caution with boldness, restraint with ambition. Their resurrection became a reckoning not only with the galaxy's failures, but with its forgotten potential. As weeks passed, the Perseus Drift transformed into a bastion of human ingenuity. Floating cities formed around the vault ships, tethered by magnetic filaments. Energy conduits stretched like neural pathways between orbital platforms. Stellar harvesting engines revived the dying suns, drawing power from their weakening cores. Drones and automated vessels spread outward, gathering resources and marking territory. Humanity, once dormant, now radiated purpose. Yet amid this surge of reconstruction, an anomaly emerged, an echo so faint it almost escaped detection. The sensors of Arcline Vessel 7 registered a signal not produced by cosmic noise nor relic machinery. Its structure was patterned, mathematical, intentional. It was not a message. It was not a distress call. It was something older and stranger, a remnant of an intelligence that still lingered in the shadows of broken space. This discovery shifted the tone of humanity's awakening from introspective to anticipatory. The galaxy was not merely wounded, it was hiding wounds that bled into dimensions humanity had never explored. But rather than retreat, humanity analyzed the signal, tracing its origins to a region once dominated by the astral dominion, a civilization renowned in ancient human records as scholars, not warriors. The dominion had been obliterated. Yet their final creation survived. A million-year-old pattern looping through space like a ghost. The Arcline network assessed it, deciphered its structure, and recognized the implications. Whatever had destroyed the Dominion had left fingerprints in the signal's distortions. Those distortions matched the fractures seen across the galaxy. This was humanity's first clue. Their first piece of the puzzle. Their first step toward discovery of the force that had broken the galaxy. But humanity did not respond with fear. They responded with strategy. They fortified their defenses. They expanded their fleets. They refined their constructs and enhanced their minds with systems designed to elevate not just survival, but dominance. Humanity had been forged through a million years of waiting and now faced a galaxy that had not expected them to return. In their reawakening, they found no allies, no rivals, no welcoming civilizations, but they found purpose. They found the beginning of a conflict that had long awaited a species resilient enough to challenge it. They found a galaxy desperately in need of something it had not known for ages. A species that refused to bow. A species that adapted faster than it broke. A species that turned devastation into opportunity. Humanity, once silent, now stirred with the quiet promise of strength. And as the final lines of Section 1 draw to a close, the narration settles on a single truth that resonated through every awakened heart. The galaxy was broken, but humanity had returned to fix it and to claim it. Humanity's rebirth unfolded across the Perseus Drift like the ignition of a long-dormant star. Yet even as the Arcline network expanded its reach, an undercurrent of unease threaded through every human mind. The galaxy remained silent, too silent, and silence in a broken cosmos rarely meant peace. It meant concealment. It meant anticipation. It meant something vast and unseen was waiting. As humanity pushed deeper into the fractured territories surrounding its new bastion, the first shadows of that truth began to take shape. The vault ships, now repurposed into command citadels, coordinated the rapid construction of the first generation of post-awakening starcraft. These vessels were not designed for colonization or diplomacy, but reconnaissance and defense, sleek, angular constructs forged from million-year alloys and enhanced with refinements derived from the relics of extinct civilizations. Their hulls shimmered with adaptive shielding. Their engines bent gravity with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. They carried within them humanity's sharpened instinct to understand threats before threats understood them. As these new vessels departed the Perseus Drift, a tapestry of celestial ruin unfurled before them. Worlds had been skinned clean of atmospheres. Moons bore the scars of impacts that defied natural origin. The emptiness between stars felt heavier, as if the vacuum itself carried the residue of ancient screams. Every discovery etched humanity deeper into the realization that the galaxy had not simply fallen, it had been unmade. Amid this devastation, humanity sought patterns. The arcline processors, operating with the combined cognitive weight of billions of coordinated human minds, analyzed the cracked latticework of space. The fractures behaved neither like gravitational phenomena nor weapon signatures humanity had known. Instead, they resembled disruptions in the underlying geometry of the universe, places where reality had been stretched, twisted, or punctured. These distortions radiated outward from a single region near the galactic core. It was there, recorded only faintly in ancestral archives, that the rumors of an impossible war had once simmered, an event so catastrophic that pre-Vault civilizations dismissed it as myth. Humanity had slumbered, but the scars of that conflict had endured, and the deeper the arcline fleets probed, the more certain humanity became. The war had not truly ended. The first tremor came as a ripple, a distortion wave detected by the outermost human craft. It was subtle, almost indistinguishable from background cosmic turbulence, yet its pattern matched the faint anomalies discovered earlier. The wave passed through human vessels without causing damage, but it left behind something far more valuable: information. Embedded within its structure was the unmistakable signature of directed intent. This was not a natural phenomenon, it was movement. It was something shifting in the dark. The narration of humanity's awakening evolved into heightened vigilance. Every system across the Perseus Drift moved into elevated readiness. Orbital platforms strengthened their shields. Automated defense arrays began patterned sweeps. The arcline network condensed its processing to run continuous threat analysis. But humanity did not panic. They adapted. In the Drift's asteroid belt, engineers activated the first generation of quantum refraction sensors, devices, capable of detecting distortions in dimensions beyond the visible spectrum. These sensors revealed shimmering traces of unseen activity knitting through the galactic void like threads of cold fire. Humanity realized with stark clarity that the galaxy's silence was not the quiet of emptiness, but the quiet of something moving behind a veil too thin for ancient civilizations to pierce. Humanity's resurrection had disturbed this veil. As the Drift awakened into a fortress, the reconstruction efforts uncovered a second anomaly, this one not in deep space, but buried beneath the fragmented crust of a long-dead world designated R209. Excavation drones unearthed a colossal structure fused into the planet's mantle, its metal composition unknown, its geometry non-Euclidean. It was not simply a ruin, it was a wound. A wound deliberately inflicted. Humanity recognized the shape, not from past experience, but from data harvested across multiple derelict systems. This structure mirrored patterns found in shattered Dyson swarms, obliterated orbital arrays, and destroyed planetary engines. Its angles hinted at a civilization capable of manipulating physical law as if sculpting clay. But this structure was different from the others for one critical reason. It was intact. Its surfaces still pulsed faintly with residual energy, energy older than the human species itself. The arcline network detected harmonics woven through the structure that matched the faint cosmic tremor encountered earlier. Humanity understood what this meant. This was not a relic of a dead species. It was a remnant of the force that had broken the galaxy. The emotional weight of this discovery rippled through the human collective, awe mixed with apprehension, curiosity sharpened into determination. Humanity had not been resurrected into a passive galaxy, they had been thrust into the aftermath of a cosmic war waged by entities whose weapons transcended comprehension. But if humanity had anything, it was resolve. The Vault inheritors studied the structure with relentless precision. They mapped its energy flows. They deconstructed its harmonics. They analyzed the distortions in the surrounding reality. Patterns emerged, not of destruction, but of testing, calibration. The structure was not a weapon itself, but a diagnostic device, as if the unknown force had sought to measure the resilience of the civilizations it targeted. Humanity realized something chilling. The galaxy had not been destroyed indiscriminately. It had been evaluated and found wanting. This revelation ignited a new fire across the Arcline network. Humanity understood that whatever had judged the galaxy weak might still be watching. The million-year slumber had preserved them from that judgment. Now awakened, they risked drawing attention, yet instead of hiding, they prepared. Humanity had survived extinction not through luck, but through design. Their ancestors had not created the vault ships out of fear, they had created them out of defiance. And now, that defiance rekindled with fury. As reconstruction efforts intensified, humanity encountered the drift's most profound mystery, a star whose light flickered not from instability, but from interference. The star's output followed a pattern, an oscillation too regular to be natural. Sensors revealed that space around it folded in on itself, as if the star were imprisoned within a cage of distorted geometry. Tracing the distortions revealed the outline of something unfathomably large, an object spanning nearly half an astronomical unit. This colossal structure existed partially outside conventional space, its presence detectable only through gravitational echoes and the faint, rhythmic pulses it emitted. Humanity named it the Abyssal Engine. Its purpose was unknown. Its threat was undeniable. And yet within its pattern, Arcline analysts detected something else, an encrypted layer of information woven into the star's oscillations. Humanity deciphered fragments, schematic data, dimensional codices, and energy signatures that did not correspond to any known civilization. These fragments painted a picture of technology capable not only of breaking galaxies, but reshaping them. Humanity realized the Abyssal Engine was not an isolated artifact. It was one of many. They had awakened into a galactic battlefield, littered with weapons and tools left behind by an unseen enemy. While the drift fortified, humanity's psychological evolution accelerated. Millions of individuals, once ordinary before the million-year sleep, now found themselves driven by instincts that felt both ancient and new. Their minds embraced complexity, absorbing strategies and concepts once reserved for humanity's brightest. Their bodies acclimated to the enhanced physiology the Vault adaptations had granted. Humanity was no longer merely human, they were a refined successor species. This internal transformation amplified their external ambitions. The Arcline network. Arche authorized the formation of the first pillar fleets, armadas designed not simply for exploration, but for projection of strength. Each pillar fleet contained vessels capable of rewriting combat parameters in real time, adapting to enemy signatures even as threats emerged. Their construction drew upon both human ingenuity and the fragments of alien technologies scavenged from derelicts. Humanity was not copying extinct civilizations. They were surpassing them. Yet the broken galaxy was not static. As humanity expanded out of the drift, they detected the first clear sign of pursuit. In the void between two dying stars, gravitational sensors picked up disturbances flowing toward the drift in coordinated formation. The anomalies did not resemble ships, organisms, or natural forces. They were distortions, localized tears in space that advanced like predators moving through dark water. The tremors humanity had sensed earlier were not random. They were approach vectors. The Arcline network initiated silent mobilization. Pillar fleets shifted to intercept positions. Defensive grids engaged across every megastructure. Quantum refraction sensors aligned to track the anomalies with unprecedented precision. Humanity braced for first contact, not with a civilization, but with the tangible manifestation of the force that had broken the galaxy. But the contact never came. As the distortions neared the boundary of the drift, they halted. For several seconds, the galaxy held its breath. Then the distortions retreated. Not chaotically, not in fear. Deliberately. Humanity recognized something unmistakable: reconnaissance. Whatever controlled those anomalies was not yet ready to engage. It was observing, measuring, just as the abyssal engine had once measured the doomed civilizations before humanity's awakening. The tension across the human collective thickened. No one spoke, yet every heartbeat echoed with the same realization. Humanity had been detected. The galaxy's silence was ending. The drifting corpse of cosmic history stirred in response to the species that had refused to die. Humanity prepared not for defense, but for inevitable confrontation. Their resilience, sharpened across a million-year sleep, transformed into momentum. Their courage crystallized into purpose. Their unexpected superiority, born of both ancient preparation and newfound clarity, became the beacon by which they navigated the broken stars. And through it all, the narration carried a single rising truth. If the force that shattered the galaxy believed humanity would break as easily as the civilizations before them, it had miscalculated. Humanity did not simply survive adversity, they evolved through it. The broken galaxy had awakened something formidable, something determined, something ready. Humanity was no longer a sleeping remnant. They were the storm approaching the void. Humanity's expansion into the broken galaxy unfolded like the unfurling of a colossal steel banner, a declaration not of conquest, but of presence. The galaxy, once dominated by empires whose names had been reduced to cosmic dust, now felt the pulse of a species that had slept through 1,000,000 years of ruin only to awaken stronger than before. From the Perseus drift outward, the influence of humanity spread in sweeping arcs of infrastructure, exploration, and relentless preparation. The first pillar fleets, armadas that symbolized humanity's strategic rebirth, moved through fractured star systems with symmetrical precision. Their hulls reflected the dying starlight, their engines leaving wakes of gravitational shimmer. Each fleet acted as both spear and shield, extending human reach while guarding against the unseen forces lurking in the void. But expansion was not the sole priority. Discovery remained humanity's sharpest blade. As the narration turned toward the advancing fleets, it described how humanity's awareness of the galaxy deepened with each passing cycle. The million-year-old ruins they encountered revealed not only the scale of the devastation, but the diversity of those who had fallen before. The skeletal remains of megastructures adorned long-dead orbits like monuments to civilizations that had once dreamed of immortality. Now they were nothing more than echoes. Yet deep within these ruins, humanity found knowledge, scattered insights that offered glimpses into the unknown enemy's methods. In the remains of a star fortress orbiting a neutron star, human surveyors uncovered data cores partially shielded by layers of crystallized dark matter. These cores contained fragments of a civilization's final attempts to comprehend the force that had annihilated them. Their studies revealed mathematical patterns describing the distortions that had consumed their worlds, patterns resembling gravitational waves, but with properties that defied every known branch of physics. Even in their final moments, that extinct species had clung to curiosity. Humanity honored that legacy by continuing their work. The Arcline network assimilated the recovered data, weaving it into the grand mosaic of galactic analysis. Slowly, the shape of the threat began to crystallize, not as a species or empire, but as an overwhelming presence. The enemy had no name in human languages, but its legacy littered the galaxy in broken stars and fractured worlds. Humanity recognized that this force did not merely destroy. It evaluated, dismantled, and repurposed cosmic structures with the detached efficiency of something that saw the galaxy not as a living tapestry, but as raw material. The more humanity learned, the more a chilling truth emerged. The unknown enemy possessed the power to manipulate spacetime as humans manipulated metal. But fear was not the dominant emotion across the human collective. It was resolve. Humanity did not shrink from the scale of the threat. They expanded their ambition to match it. In the drifting wreckage of a shattered Dyson shell, human engineers constructed the first Lumen Forge, an orbital foundry capable of refining exotic particles harvested from collapsed star cores. This forge became the birthplace of the second generation of Pillar-class vessels, ships designed to counter forces that could reshape reality itself. Still, humanity understood that power alone was insufficient. Survival demanded knowledge. Knowledge demanded exploration. Thus began the Outer Horizon Initiative, a coordinated surge of expeditions into regions marked with the most extreme space distortions. These expeditions catalogued anomalies, mapped fractal fissures in spacetime, and probed the edges of regions that seemed to warp perception itself. Many of these anomalies behaved like scars, wounds in the universe that refused to heal. Others pulsed with residual energy, as if still connected to distant sources. And one anomaly stood unlike any other. At the edge of what ancient star charts had once named the Lyran Expanse, the Pillar Fleet designated Horizon 1 discovered a tear so immense that it appeared as a void within the void, an absence not of light, but of existence. This was no collapsed star, no gravitational well. It was a breach. The breach emitted no radiation, no gravitational signature, no sound in the electromagnetic spectrum, yet it exerted a subtle influence, drawing nearby matter toward it as though inviting examination. Humanity did not approach recklessly. They approached with instruments tuned to dimensions that not even the Vault ancestors could fully understand. The Arcline network detected patterns rippling along the breach's boundary, repeating intervals that aligned with the tremors humanity had observed earlier. The breach resonated with a frequency that suggested it was not a natural phenomenon. It was a doorway, a conduit, or perhaps a scar left behind by a weapon capable of piercing the fabric of reality. Through analysis of the data, humanity uncovered a startling revelation. The breach had been opened from the inside. Whatever force had torn it had done so while leaving the galaxy, not entering it. Humanity realized the enemy had not originated within this galaxy at all. As this truth spread across the collective, humanity's perception of the cosmic battlefield shifted. They were not contending with remnants of a war fought between civilizations within the galaxy. They faced the aftermath of an incursion by an interdimensional force, a presence that had pierced the boundaries of this universe to dismantle everything within reach. This was not simply a broken galaxy. It was a violated one. Yet humanity's reaction was not despair. It was determination sharpened to a blade. Their ancestors had designed the Vault ships to withstand cosmic upheaval. Now humanity understood why. The threat humanity faced transcended every prior conflict, every known technology, every legend their species had ever whispered. But the human spirit, refined across millennia of struggle, remained unbroken. The narration turned toward the strengthening of the Pillar fleets. New vessels emerged from the Lumen Forges with hulls designed to stabilize against spacetime flux. Their weapon arrays could adapt their firing sequences midstream, altering energy frequencies in response to anomalies. Their engines could generate localized pockets of stable reality, safe havens in regions where physics itself flickered. Humanity was forging tools not just for war, but for defiance against the unimaginable. Then came the moment that marked the true escalation of the conflict. A pulse. It erupted from the galactic core, a wave of distortion so vast that sensors detected it across thousands of light years. This was not the subtle tremor humanity had felt before. This was a detonation of cosmic proportions. The pulse spread outward like an expanding sphere of warped reality, bending starfields and twisting gravitational anchors as it passed through them. Humanity braced foe. Our destruction, but the pulse did not annihilate. It observed. Every sensor across human territory captured the same signature. A probing wave, calibrated to detect structures, technologies, energy emissions, and most disturbingly, biological presence. The enemy was scanning the galaxy, and it had found something unexpected. Humanity had awakened. The pulse slowed as it approached the Perseus drift, as if hesitating. For the first time since their resurrection, humanity sensed not the enemy's power, but its confusion. The vault ships, cloaked in layers of temporal shielding and encased in materials unknown to even ancient civilizations, had defied detection for 1,000,000 years. Now that humanity was awake, building, expanding, the galaxy's newest force of resilience had revealed itself to a predator accustomed to silence. But the enemy did not attack. It withdrew. The withdrawal carried chilling implications. The enemy was not impulsive, it was strategic. It did not strike blindly, it assessed. Humanity realized that the enemy had underestimated them and was now re-evaluating. In response, humanity accelerated its preparations. The Arcline network initiated Project Horizontal, a contingency designed to unify all pillar fleets into a single defensive grid capable of responding to threats on a galactic scale. Orbital fortresses expanded. Shield arrays multiplied. Exploration fleets shifted to reconnaissance-first protocols. Every structure in the drift, from the largest forge to the smallest relay node, adopted hardened defenses. Yet even as humanity fortified, they continued to seek understanding. The breach in the Lyran expanse remained under constant study. Its boundary fluctuated with increasing intensity following the pulse. Human scientists theorized that the breach connected to an extra-dimensional origin point, one that the enemy had used to enter and exit the galaxy. Some speculated it was not merely a gateway, but part of a larger network spanning multiple galaxies, each subjected to the same cycle of evaluation and destruction. Humanity realized that if they did nothing, their galaxy would suffer the same fate as countless others beyond the visible universe. This realization did not break their resolve. It strengthened it. Still, the tension across the human collective grew heavier. Billions of minds felt the weight of the unknown enemy pressing at the borders of their thoughts. The galaxy was no longer simply broken. It was awakening in response to humanity's resurgence. Forces older than human memory began to shift in the dark. Then, for the first time since humanity had awakened, they received an anomaly that did not originate from the enemy. In the outermost region of the drift, beyond the reach of human-controlled space, a signature flared, weak, intermittent, but undeniably intelligent. It came not from an unknown force, but from something familiar. A human signal. Not from the vault ships. Not from the Arcline network. From beyond their territory. Humanity froze, not in fear, but in astonishment. Their ancestors had believed the vault ships contained all surviving humans. Yet the signal, though weakened, matched the genetic resonance codes embedded in human quantum transmissions. Humanity was not alone. Either another vault ship had survived its journey into the dark, or an independent human outpost from before the Great Sleep had endured across 1 million years of cosmic chaos. The narration swelled with emotional gravity. The human collective shifted from the tension of preparation to the awe of possibility. Somewhere in the broken expanse of the galaxy, human voices, lost to time, still whispered through the void. The signal repeated, then faded, then repeated again, as if trapped in a loop. The Arcline network redirected Pillar Fleet Horizon 3 toward the origin point. A mission of both strategic and emotional magnitude began. Humanity understood that whatever awaited them, ally or spectral remnant, the discovery would reshape their understanding of both their past and their future. As Horizon 3 departed the drift, humanity stood poised between two monumental truths. The enemy had identified humanity as a factor worth re-evaluating, and a human echo from the past had resurfaced from the ruins. The galaxy's silence was breaking. Its history was reawakening. And humanity was rising, not as prey, but as a force the void would learn to fear. The journey of Pillar Fleet Horizon 3 toward the source of the human signal unfolded across regions of space, untouched since before the Great Slumber. The fleet traveled through expanses where stars flickered like dying embers, their light dimmed by ancient battles. As humanity watched through collective sensor feeds and shared tactical overlays, the galaxy's forgotten wounds stretched out before them, revealing the scale of the devastation with haunting clarity. The signal pulsed at irregular intervals, sometimes strong, sometimes faint, as though struggling to break through layers of interference woven into the fabric of space. The Arcline network isolated its pattern, mapped its harmonics, and confirmed what all of humanity felt growing in their hearts. The signal was unmistakably human. Yet it did not match the vault-ship compression protocols used during the million-year slumber. Its architecture was older, far older, suggesting it originated from a period shortly after humanity's departure from Earth, but long before the vaults sealed themselves. Somewhere in the depths of the broken galaxy, a thread of humanity's forgotten history had survived against impossible odds. As Horizon 3 neared the source, the distortion field surrounding the region thickened. Fragments of shattered space drifted like crystal shards suspended in cosmic fluid. Physics stuttered and fluctuated, forcing the fleet to adjust trajectories in real time. Gravity bent with erratic pulses. Light refracted through invisible prisms. Every second demanded adaptation, calculation, and mastery of the new reality humanity had awoken into. But humanity did not falter. They had been refined for this moment. Horizon 3 emerged into a region that defied conventional geometry, a pocket of warped space that folded inward like an immense cosmic whirlpool. At its center drifted a structure unlike any the Pillar fleets had encountered. It resembled an enormous spire, metallic and fractured, spinning slowly within a cage of shimmering distortion fields. The ancient beacon at its heart pulsed with the human signal. The narration lingered on the emotional weight of the discovery. Against all logic, this spire, once part of a human outpost, had survived the galaxy's fall. Its surfaces bore the scars of weapons beyond comprehension. Its hull was pitted by radiation storms older than recorded time. But through the wreckage, one truth shone. Humanity had been here. Humanity had endured. The fleet approached cautiously, deploying fractal stabilizers to anchor the spire within temporary pockets of unwarped reality. Scanners probed its internals, revealing chambers filled with dormant machinery, collapsed corridors, and storage units fused by heat intense enough to bend alloys designed to withstand stellar cores. But deeper within the structure, concealed behind layers of shielding, Horizon 3 detected something that sent ripples across the entire Arcline network. Life. Faint, fragile, but unmistakably human. A pocket of biological signatures, hundreds of them, held in a suspended state, unlike the stasis pods of the vault ships. These descendants had not slept through time, they had been frozen in a moment of catastrophic collapse. Humanity braced for the emotional impact. These survivors were not like the vault-born descendants of Earth who had awakened into a new galaxy. They were remnants of an older humanity, one that had ventured into the stars before the vault sealed. Their knowledge, their memories, their culture, all represented a missing chapter of human history. As Horizon 3 stabilized the spire, humanity prepared to bring the survivors aboard. But before the fleet could complete the transfer, the region of space around the spire shifted with sudden violence. A tremor rippled through the void. Space folded. Reality convulsed. And from the distorted boundary emerged the unmistakable signature of the enemy. It did not appear as ships or creatures or machines. Instead, it manifested as distortions, localized rifts in space that moved with predatory precision. These rifts emitted pulses of energy that fractured sensor feeds and destabilized gravity. They formed a perimeter around the spire, enclosing Horizon 3 within a tightening cage. Humanity realized with chilling clarity the enemy had tracked the human signal as well. The distortions advanced. Temperature readings fluctuated wildly. Time dilation effects flickered around their boundaries. Hull plating on smaller Horizon vessels groaned as dimensional stress pressed inward. The Arcline network calculated projected outcomes. Without decisive action, Horizon 3 would be crushed by the collapsing geometry or consumed by the rifts. Yet the narration did not describe panic. It described calculation, resolve, adaptation. The Pillar Fleet activated its reality anchors, immense devices designed to stabilize spacetime within localized regions. These anchors extended gravitational filaments into the surrounding void, resisting the distortions with brute force and precision engineering. The space around the fleet solidified, like steel plates welding shut around a breach. But the enemy responded. The rifts brightened, releasing tendrils of fractured energy that lashed against the anchors. Space warped like liquid under pressure. Shockwaves surged across the region, tearing fragments from the spire. The dormant humans within seemed perilously close to annihilation. Horizon 3 shifted into emergency formation. Every vessel align. Its shield frequencies to create a collective barrier against the distortions. The fleet's engines roared, not for escape, but to maintain position against the multidimensional currents threatening to sweep them into oblivion. Humanity held its ground. This moment, the first true confrontation between humanity and the unseen enemy, became a testament to the millions of years of preparation the Vault ancestors had envisioned. Humanity did not retreat from the unknown. They did not surrender to forces older and more powerful than any previous civilization. They analyzed, they adapted, and they countered. The Arcline network pinpointed the epicenter of the distortion field, a vortex forming behind the rifts. The enemy force was anchoring itself, attempting to tear open a breach large enough to overwhelm the human fleet. If the breach stabilized, the consequences would be catastrophic. The narration shifted to the decisive moment. Horizon 3 activated the luminal conversion array, an experimental device designed to manipulate gravimetric energy at scales previously impossible. The array channeled the power of the fleet's reactors, converting energy into a pulse capable of disrupting dimensional instability. The array fired. A wave of brilliant distortion expanded outward, colliding with the rifts. The void trembled, light fractured into cascading patterns. The enemy distortions recoiled, their movements faltering. The breach behind them flickered, destabilizing. Then, in a moment that electrified the human collective, the rifts collapsed. The breach imploded. Silence returned to the fractured region. Humanity had faced the enemy's test and endured. The narration lingered on the emotional aftermath. Humanity had not destroyed the enemy nor understood its full nature, but they had proven something critical. They were not helpless before the forces that had broken the galaxy. They were contenders. As the distortion field dissipated, Horizon 3 completed the extraction of the survivors from the spire. Their suspended forms, preserved through unknown means, were transferred into the fleet's medical bays. Humanity waited with breathless anticipation across the Arcline network. These lost descendants held answers to the past, to the fall of the early star colonies, to the first encounters with the extra-dimensional enemy. The drift awaited their revival. But even in triumph, warning signs emerged. Sensors detected echoes of the destroyed rifts propagating through the galaxy. The enemy was reacting, not with fear, but with acknowledgement. Humanity's resistance had not gone unnoticed. Across the galaxy, dormant regions stirred, distortion signatures flared, gravitational anomalies multiplied. The enemy was awakening in response to humanity's awakening. The narration shifted toward humanity's growing unity. The Arcline network rallied around the reality that they were no longer observers of the broken galaxy. They were participants in the struggle that defined its fate. New pillar fleets mobilized. Fortresses expanded. Research accelerated to decode the technologies found in the spire. And in the heart of the Perseus drift, the survivors began to wake. Their memories would reshape humanity's understanding of the past. Their stories would reveal the first sparks of the war that shattered the galaxy. Their knowledge would guide humanity toward the truth behind the enemy. But revelation would not come without consequence. For as the survivors opened their eyes after 1,000,000 years trapped in a frozen moment, an ancient fear returned with them. A warning carried across time, a whisper encoded in their final logs. Humanity had not awakened by chance. They had awakened because the enemy was returning. And the broken galaxy was merely the first battlefield. The storm no longer approached. It had arrived. The awakening of the lost descendants sent a reverberation through the entire Arcline network, a tide of emotion woven of awe, grief, and sudden clarity. These survivors, retrieved from the wreckage of a long-forgotten human outpost, emerged into consciousness not with fear, but with the haunted stillness of those who had witnessed the beginning of something monstrous. Their memories, fractured, burdened, and painfully preserved, became the final puzzle pieces humanity had been missing. The narration deepened into solemn gravity as their recollections were transferred to collective archives. Across billions of minds, the same images crystallized, a galaxy alive with thriving civilizations, humanity expanding among the stars with boldness and curiosity, alliances forming between species once thought destined to conflict. The universe had once been radiant with promise. And then the shadows came. Not as fleets, not as conquerors, but as fractures. The survivors' memories spoke of the first signs, a soft distortion on deep space sensors dismissed as interference, then another, and another, cyst. EMs failed in patterns too regular to be random. Stars dimmed not from age, but from suffocation, as if light itself recoiled from the intruding presence. Worlds fell silent. Entire sectors vanished behind veils of warped reality. Civilizations attempted to resist, but their weapons passed through the distortions without effect, swallowed by invisible depths. Attempts at communication failed. Diplomacy meant nothing. The survivors described an enemy that did not negotiate, did not retaliate, did not even acknowledge its opponents. It simply dismantled. Piece by piece, law by law, atom by atom. The survivors had belonged to a forward colony founded during humanity's early expansion. They had watched as the distortion front consumed nearby systems. They had attempted evacuation, only to be caught in a gravitational rupture that suspended their spire in a bubble of fractured time. They had survived not through resilience or intention, but through the same cruel accident that had preserved the ruin itself. And now, 1,000,000 years later, they had awakened to find humanity reborn into a galaxy still haunted by the same force. Their memories revealed the truth humanity had not yet dared consider. The enemy did not break this galaxy. The enemy harvested it. Every distorted region, every fractured star, every obliterated megastructure, all of it bore the hallmark of a methodical extraction of energy, matter, and spatial cohesion. The galaxy had not been conquered, it had been consumed. This revelation ignited a firestorm of determination across the Arcline network. Humanity understood that they were not inheritors of a ruined cosmos, they were the last line of defense against an ongoing cosmic harvest. The enemy's behavior now made chilling sense. It had not ignored the Perseus drift out of indifference. It had left it untouched because it was unfinished. Humanity's awakening had disrupted the cycle. They were no longer sleeping resources. They were resistance. As this understanding solidified, the Perseus drift shifted from fortress to crucible. The Arcline network began preparing not for avoidance, but for confrontation. Research divisions accelerated their study of the spire's preserved technologies. Engineers adapted the gravity warping systems discovered within. Analysts deciphered the survivors' data on how the distortions spread. New generations of pillar vessels began construction, each designed with contingencies for dimensional instability. Humanity moved with purpose, no longer reacting, now initiating. Yet even as strength surged through their ranks, the enemy moved as well. Distortion signatures multiplied across the galaxy, not randomly, but in a pattern, a formation, a tightening circle around the Perseus drift. The enemy was positioning itself, preparing to complete the harvest it had begun 1,000,000 years ago. The narration intensified with rising tension. Humanity felt the encroaching pressure like a gravitational tide. The void trembled. Stars flickered like frightened beacons. The very fabric of space grew strained, as though bracing for what approached. Then came the convergence pulse. It erupted across the galaxy, stronger, deeper, more aggressive than any previous wave. It shook entire constellations. It cracked the surfaces of planets. It sent shockwaves through wormhole remnants and caused dormant systems to flare with unstable energy. For the first time since awakening, humanity felt the full measure of the enemy's presence. This was no reconnaissance. This was declaration. The pulse assessed humanity again, now seeing their fortresses, their fleets, their expanding influence. This time, the enemy recognized humanity as an anomaly, a threat, a deviation, something that required correction. In that moment, humanity understood that the enemy would not wait for their final preparations. The galaxy's broken silence collapsed into imminent conflict. Distortions blossomed into rifts. Rifts expanded into approaching anomalies. The enemy emerged, not as creatures, but as manifestations of dimensional violation, tearing through reality like claws through cloth. But humanity did not cower. They mobilized. All pillar fleets activated. Defensive grids ignited across every structure in the drift. Lumen forges redirected their full power into the war effort. Quantum refraction sensors fed real-time data into the Arcline network, enabling instantaneous strategic adaptation. And then, for the first time in a million years, a human war cry rose across the galaxy, not spoken in words, but expressed in unity, in readiness, in undeniable resolve. The enemy arrived. Not in ships, not in forms recognizable to the mind, but in fractures, bladed distortions of space that sliced toward the drift with unfathomable speed. They twisted stars, tore open asteroids, and shredded lesser anomalies in their path. They were not an army. They were a force of nature. Humanity met them head-on. Pillar fleets surged forward, activating reality anchors to stabilize the battlefield. Their weapons fired bursts of adaptive energy designed to fracture distortion patterns. Their shields reshaped themselves to counter dimensional shearing. Their engines danced through impossible trajectories, navigating the warping void with precision honed by a million years of intended evolution. The battle unfolded not as a clash of machines, but as a collision of physics itself. Space rippled with every exchange. Gravity surged and collapsed. Light bent in recursive spirals. The enemy's rifts struck at the fleets, attempting to unravel them molecule by molecule. But humanity endured. When rifts tore open beneath human vessels, reality anchors reasserted the laws of physics, snapping the distortions shut. When gravitational currents inverted, human ships adjusted mass distribution, stabilizing themselves in defiance of cosmic upheaval. When the enemy probed for weaknesses, the Arcline network reshaped entire formations in fractions of a second. Humanity fought with intelligence, unity, and creativity. They fought with everything the Vault ancestors had preserved for them. And slowly, impossibly, they began to hold the line. The narration deepened into awe as humanity achieved what no prior civilization had, resisting the enemy's harvest. The galaxy itself seemed to respond. Distortion fields faltered, rifts slowed, the enemy's advance lost momentum. For the first time, the extra-dimensional predator faltered, its perfect cycle disrupted by a species that should have died a million years ago. Humanity pressed forward. Pillar vessels deployed luminal scribes, devices that etched stabilizing signatures into the battlefield, reinforcing the structure of space. They turned the enemy's greatest weapon, dimensional instability, into a contested territory. Every second of resistance weakened the enemy's coherence. Then came the turning point. The Arcline network detected a pattern within the enemy's distortions, a repeating interval hidden beneath layers of chaos. This interval corresponded to the harmonic frequencies discovered in the spire, frequencies the survivors had recorded during the first incursion a million years earlier. Humanity realized the distortions were not invincible. They were bound by rules. Rules humans could exploit. The pillar fleets retuned their weapons. Energy beams shifted from destructive output to harmonic disruption. Instead of attempting to overpower the rifts, they destabilized their internal structure. The effects were immediate. Rifts collapsed into implosions of dimensional recall. Distortions stuttered, losing coherence. The enemy, for the first time, suffered damage. Humanity did not hesitate. They advanced as one. Fleet formations tightened. The Drift's fortress arrays unleashed synchronized barrages. Harmonic disruptors sang across the void, weaving a tapestry of defiance. The broken galaxy became a stage for a confrontation that echoed across dimensions, a battle of law against violation, order against entropy, life against consumption. And humanity, unexpected, underestimated, unstoppable, began to win. But victory was not the end. It was the beginning. As the enemy retreated, its remaining distortions folding back toward the galactic core, it left behind a single anomaly, an intentional one. A message, not in language, but in action. The enemy had recognized humanity, and it had chosen to adapt. The galaxy trembled with the implications. Humanity had broken the harvest cycle. They had defied extinction. They had forced an extra-dimensional force to change its tactics, a feat no known civilization had ever achieved. The narration swelled with the magnitude of the moment. Humanity had awakened into a broken galaxy. And through resilience, strategy, courage, and an unexpected superiority born of their million-year sleep, they had become the very force the galaxy needed. Not victims, not remnants, but defenders, builders, warriors. A new dawn rose across the broken galaxy, not the gentle dawn of peace, but the fierce dawn of purpose. Humanity stood upon the threshold of a war that spanned dimensions, but they did so united, prepared, and unafraid. The galaxy would not fall in silence, not while humanity endured. The Vault ancestors had given them time. Humanity chose what to do with it. They chose to fight. They chose to rebuild. They chose to become the storm. And as the enemy retreated into the darkness from which it had come, humanity advanced with the blazing certainty of a species that had slept 1,000,000 years, only to awaken exactly when the universe needed them most. Humanity was not done. Humanity had only begun.